What if I told you that while all the teams were still fighting for the 2025 championship, McLaren was already building the car with which it plans to dominate a whole new era of Formula One? What if, furthermore, that car has already started its engine weeks before any of its rivals? Today I am going to tell you everything that is known, rumored, and leaked about the McLaren MCL40, the most secret, risky, and innovative car on the 2026 grid. McLaren did not win the 2024 World Cup by accident. It was the result of a process of sustained evolution, bold decisions, and, above all, a technical direction that knew how to look beyond the immediacy of each race. With the Constructors' Championship secured in Singapore and Lando Norris established as world champion after a titanic battle with Verstappen and Piastri in Abu Dhabi, any other team would have been content to cling to its winning formula. But McLaren chose the opposite. Formula One has changed many times throughout its history. Hybrid engines in 2014, ground effect cars in 2022, tweaked aerodynamic compounds in 2023. But nothing compares to what's coming in 2026. It's not an evolution. It's a complete reset. And those who do not understand it that way will be left behind. What is coming is not a new season. It's a new category. Starting in 2026, the Formula One technical regulations will completely rewrite the rules of the game. Starting from the base, the size of the car. The new cars will be 20 centimeters shorter and 10 centimeters narrower. This change alone represents a dramatic shift in how engineers must understand balance, mass distribution, cornering behavior, aerodynamic efficiency, and structural strength. And as if that were not enough, the car will also be 30 kilograms lighter. Less weight, less inertia, more agility, but also less room for errors in torsional rigidity, in thermal management, and braking balance. However, the most revolutionary thing goes beyond the chassis. It is the hybrid heart of the car that will make the real difference. The new power units will have a 50-50 power distribution between the internal combustion engine and the electrical system. That is, half of the power will come from the electric motor. And that changes everything. It changes how you accelerate, how you recover energy, how you manage traction, how you plan a qualifying lap, a race strategy, or even a wheel-to-wheel defense. To sustain this new energy balance, the braking recovery capacity will double, reaching 8.5 megajoules per lap. That information may seem abstract, but it implies a total transformation in the behavior of the car. Each braking phase, each meter of deceleration will be a battleground between the efficiency of the regenerative system and the precision of the driver. A car that regenerates poorly will lose performance. A driver who does not know how to adapt will be left out of the game. And if that were not enough, the new rules will allow the use of active aerodynamics. It's not just the DRS that we already know. These are mobile elements that can be adjusted in real time according to the state of the car, the speed, the position of the rival, or even the energy management of the hybrid system. The wings, diffusers, and even certain elements of the flat bottom could modify their geometry on the fly. This opens the door to a universe of completely new tactical scenarios. Each corner can have two versions of the car. Each straight can become a saving or attacking phase. This context is not easy terrain. It was not in 2014 with the V6 hybrids. It was not in 2022 with the ground effect. And it won't be now. Teams that try to adapt their current concepts to the new regulations run the risk of creating hybrid cars halfway. Neither sufficiently evolved, nor really knew that. That's why McLaren's decision to start the MCL40 project from scratch is not just risky. It's probably the only logical way to approach this reboot. It's not about adjusting a champion car to a new era. It's about building a car that can only exist within that era. A car that was designed not with the parameters of today, but with the demands of tomorrow. In this new playing field, pure speed will no longer be enough. Energy efficiency, thermal management, the ability to modulate aerodynamic loading on the fly, perfect synchronization between the pilot and the control software, it all counts. Everything weighs. Everything defines. And in that scenario, only the one who understood it before anyone else will win. In a sport where aerodynamics defines everything, what you can't see can make the most brutal difference. While the spotlights are pointed at the wings, the ground, the diffuser, the engine maps, or the hybrid management software, there is a silent battle that defines the total efficiency of the car, the dynamic behavior under braking. And there, McLaren could have delivered the most powerful technical blow of the new regulatory cycle. The first leaks from specialized forums, combined with analysis of simulations and internal rumors from Woking, point to a key piece in the MCL40, a suspension system designed specifically to neutralize longitudinal pitching. But we are not talking about a simple geometry adjustment or a modification to the classic anti-dive. What is suggested is much more radical. A complete reconfiguration of the suspension scheme, partially decoupled from the chassis, and designed to redirect longitudinal forces in a controlled manner, as if the car had a spine that absorbs and regulates its own imbalances. But what exactly is pitching, and why does it pose an invisible threat to performance? In simple terms, it is the forward lean that the car suffers when braking. That mass transfer not only affects overall balance, but drastically alters the airflow that runs through the body. A car that sinks at the front axle loses stability, loses aerodynamic efficiency, and, what's worse, loses predictability. The flat bottom suffers turbulence, the diffuser loses charge, and the hybrid regenerative system cannot operate in its optimal range. In practice, we are talking about a potential loss of up to 15% in aerodynamic efficiency in the critical braking and acceleration zones. That can be the difference between gaining a tenth or losing half a second. And even more important, it can be the line that separates a car that allows you to attack from one that can only defend itself. McLaren's solution, according to what has been inferred, is not based simply on making the front suspension more rigid. It's about creating an intelligent system that interprets braking as an opportunity, not a challenge. Instead of resisting movement, it guides it. Instead of stiffening the chassis, it strategically makes it more flexible. It is a suspension that does not fight against movement, it transforms it into stability. The secret would be in a combination of angled geometries and a new type of double-chamber shock absorber that would allow part of the vertical energy to be decoupled from the longitudinal transfer. In practical terms, when the driver presses the brake, the car does not lean forward as usual. It remains stable, as if floating on an unalterable plane. That fixed platform feeling generates a consistency of downforce that allows not only to brake later, but also to exit the corner faster. And in Formula One, that fraction of a second is everything. In addition, this architecture would have a direct impact on another key component of the 2026 car: energy recovery. With more predictable braking behavior, the MGUK system can work in a more efficient band, extracting more energy without compromising the car's stability. The result: more available electrical power, less brake wear, and smarter regeneration per lap. McLaren has abandoned a winning season for a vision. They preferred the uncertainty of the MCL40 to continuing to develop a car that was already giving them titles. That's audacity. That's technical leadership. But it is also a play that allows no retreat. If your 2026 concept is not competitive from the first test, there will be no safety net. Because while they were fine-tuning conceptual details in the wind tunnel, Red Bull continued competing. Mercedes accumulated real data. Ferrari deepened its correlation program between track and simulator. And although they arrive later, they can arrive with more polished, more contrasted, less risky solutions. There is a psychological component that cannot be ignored. If the MCL40 does not perform from the start, the moral blow will be enormous. Not just because they will have wasted a year of development, but because their entire narrative of early dominance will fall apart. Each race in 2026 will then become a public trial, a constant test of whether the strategy worked or was a mirage. Rivals will know it. The press will know. And worse yet, the pilots themselves will know it. Can Lando Norris, now with a world title in tow, keep blind faith if the car doesn't respond? Will Oscar Piastri accept being relegated while the world waits for him to be the next great champion? Internal pressure will also be a factor. Because when you bet so big, there is no room for ambiguity. The car works, or it doesn't. And there are no last-minute excuses, nor problems understanding the regulations. McLaren not only said it understood the new regulations, he said he was going to dominate him. But if they get it right, if this car really starts with the performance that its simulations promise, if the anti-pitching suspension system works on a real track, if the hybrid efficiency is maintained under racing conditions, then we will be facing the birth of a dynasty. It wouldn't just be a fast car. It would be the first car of the new technical order. A car that would set the standard to which all others will be compared. And McLaren wouldn't just have a temporary advantage. It would have the conceptual framework that others would have to imitate months behind schedule. By then, they would already be thinking about their evolution in 2027. They would already be ahead again. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.